Hi, and welcome back to Meet Our Board of Directors with Marnese Jackson, Executive Director of the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition. Right now, you just saw me about a second ago, we have another board member, David Weaver. Before I get into introducing him, I would like to tell you about the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition. Our mission is to decarbonize the Midwestern building sector by 2050, and our focus states are Indiana, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan, Missouri, Ohio, and Wisconsin. We're going to get into why Midwest BDC was founded in the first place, and our organizational structure emphasizes operating by the HIMES principles for democratic organizing and the climate justice principles. And our work is around the people who have been impacted by high energy burden and environmental racism. So we're back to highlight some of our board members and their work within the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition. And David Weaver is a part of our inaugural board. He got elected January 2023. And so for those who don't know, Midwest BDC became our own nonprofit December 2023. And that means, yes, taxes, we're doing our own thing. And thank you so much to Fresh Energy in Minnesota for giving us an opportunity and being our parent organization. Now we're out doing our own thing. And so David Weaver serves on the Illinois Environmental Council Youth Board and volunteers with Sustain DuPage. Prior to transitioning to a career in environmentalism, he served for 10 years with the Marine Corps before transitioning to the Marine Corps Reserves. David has a Master's of Science degree in Resilient and Sustainable Communities and is working on his JD. Okay, we're gonna talk more about it. He is passionate about green building careers and helping folks either transition into a plan for a future and green jobs. So glad to have you with us, David. And also, David was on our youth podcast in the fall. So if you want to see that, please go to our website. So thank you so much, David, for being here. So, David, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, Marnese, thank you so much. I know you've done at least one other of these today, and I know you got a busy schedule, but thank you. It's great to see you and to be on with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm from Illinois, but I've lived in Wisconsin, Michigan. Got ties throughout the entire Midwest, and I think this is such a wonderful organization. I'm happy to play a small role in supporting it.
Well, thank you so much. Being on a board of directors is not really a small role. It comes a lot with being a board of directors. Come to find out, when you're starting an organization, a startup, there's a lot of legal stuff that you have to do, that you have to get your license, filing paperwork. So it's not just a little, David. So we appreciate you being on. But how did you get involved with the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition?
Well, I was an employee for one of the member organizations, the Citizens Utility Board of Illinois. The Midwest Building Decarbonization is not, a strict structure. It's got coalition members throughout the Midwest that support it and really make the whole thing such a powerful organization. So as an employee of one of the member organizations, I was active in a couple of the different groups, different working groups that were supporting that the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition facilitated. And I really liked the work. I think it was a very useful to hear about what was going on in other states and other parts of other states, not just the issues, but also their solutions, and then to see how we could work together. Whether it's sharing comments or working on letters together that we could submit to the EPA or HUD or some other organization. I thought it was a really, really great organization. And when the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition started to shift into being an independent nonprofit instead of a subpart of Fresh Energy, I saw that there was only 2 of the 3 Illinois positions were being filled, and the board really wanted to have a robust board and fill 3 positions from each state. So I also felt a sense of duty. I thought it was such a great organization with great employees, and felt obligated to raise my hand if they needed more help and to contribute.
Well, I appreciate that because we need all the help we can get, especially when you're, working across 8 states and didn't want to do the work in local communities. It's that's what coalition building is all about. All hands on deck, everybody getting to work, and so that the mission of eliminating fossil fuels in buildings can advance. And we're at the tipping point, so we really have to be really intentional about the work that we do in communities. So, with your saying, for your JD, um, how do you feel that experience will be useful to contributing to being on the board of directors? Because I actually sit on two other board of directors, and that it's like you have to kind of bring stuff that be an added value to being on the board of directors. It's not just boss and Marnese around, you know what I'm saying? And David, for everybody don't know, David is 12 board of directors, so David is one of my 12 bosses, okay? And so I'm doing these podcasts, of course, to just build relationships. And like Molly said in the previous podcast, we don't see each other, right? So, and then I do know a lot of executive directors do not have a relationship with their board. They sometimes don't even see their board at all. So, doing the work that we do and we're centering the HIMS principles for organizing, what do you think people may not know about how boards contribute to an organization?
Lots to unpack in what you just said.
I know
One,
that's a lot.
one thing, I'll just, before I get to your question is, obviously every relationship is different, but for me, I think, trying to see our relationship is you don't work for me, I work for you, right? I'm trying to make sure that your life and your work can be unhindered, and you can take this organization as far as it can go. And I really see myself as a supporting role. Um, and that goes back to one of the reasons why I wanted to join the board of directors. This is my first time on a board of directors, and just like any position, there's a learning curve. And when I saw that there were really great leaders joining the board, I thought that would be a great opportunity for me to learn, from them how to be a board, and to learn from an executive director and everyone else on the board, and just really take it in and see where it goes. But as far as contributing to a board, I do think it's very helpful when board members have experiences that they can bring to the table. We have an extremely experienced treasurer, for example, that has a lot of experience in governing nonprofits, and that's crucial. Being a hard worker and a volunteer might not be enough to really fill that role on a board of directors. Uh, but it depends on the board. Sometimes you just need someone who's willing to show up and put in the time, and everything else can come along as it's required. And sometimes you need people with a lot of experience. I think a JD is extremely helpful for being on the board,
Mhm.
uh, because as you learn to be a lawyer, you learn attention to detail. You learn to cross every T and dot every I at a level that even people with a master's degree haven't done yet. And it's really helpful. And these organizations are legal organizations, right? They have contracts. They have a founding document. They have the rules of the board, the rules of the organization, the structure, and all of that needs to be followed. And when you're asking people for money to help a nonprofit, they want to make sure that their money is going the right way. And if the board's not running the way that their rules are structured, that's a huge issue. So having the backstop on the board to make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to go, I think is really important.
Yeah, that is so true. And I've been a part of a couple transitional boards, and funders, they do pay attention to stuff like that. However, I have learned that funders are willing to help with navigating to make things better within an organization. So it's not that because actually a funder was like, hey, do you need support with like the transition development and things of that nature? So of course I'll offer that to the board of directors when the time comes. But yes, shout out to our treasurer, Margaret Charney Hendrick. Yes. She is very detailed and gonna make sure that everybody's clear on the finances. So shout out to her. But yes, the board, we're all liable for the organization, from the board directors to the executive director. So I think it's very important for people to know what they're signing up for, especially new board members. And then it's their opportunity for new board members to help cultivate the vision or figure out where should the strategic plan go, because you're new and there's new eyes. Sometimes I may not see it because I've been a part of the organization for 4 years, and sometimes I may need a refresher, like, hey, this needs to be going this way. And so so what has been your favorite part about working with Midwest BDC?
I love the youth involvement. I've been on a lot of calls where we have junior high students and high school students join us
Mm-hmm.
and to share their ideas and to share what they're interested in learning or what they're interested in doing or how we can better support
Mm-hmm.
them in their own schools.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a heartwarming and gives me optimism for the future. Um, but it's also just fun. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's got to be hands down my favorite part.
Yeah, and now, with us really trying to make sure that our work is more impactful, being more efficient. I'm the type of person, like, let's work smart, okay? Let's not work too hard, because when you're building relationships with kids or youth, and young adults, they are tapped everywhere with so many activities and schoolwork. And so, when we get their time and energy, we have to really value it. So we have created a plan where we can do more, the youth can do more project based activities in the future, on an ongoing basis, where, sometimes they just can't show up to a meeting regardless of what time the meeting is. But we got some things in the works where we can continue to build those relationships and not duplicate the efforts, because we have to be mindful that somebody may be already out here doing this work. And then we want to make sure that our plan can be centered, can relate to any demographic, okay, whether it's the elderly, our disabled brothers and sisters, youth, that they can pick up and do an energy project whenever they want to do the project. So, but we're figuring out, we're still a new nonprofit. So, what do you wish people knew about the work that we do in regards to energy and climate justice? Because it's still a little bit, people feel like it's not in reach of them. They feel like there's still a little bit of a disconnect. And so, what do you think you wish people knew about, the work that we're working on?
Really good question. One last comment from the last conversation, though. I think that's one of the greatest strengths of our organization. We have so many member organizations throughout the entire Midwest. So when there's a problem that we want to address in Fort Wayne, well, maybe somebody in Cairo, Illinois, is already taken on that approach, and we can work smarter by using solutions that people throughout the Midwest have already brought forward. And if it's a handout that we want to provide people, well, we can just share that rather than having to recreate the wheel. And I think that's one of the best parts of this organization. But to get to your question about energy and climate justice, I see these as so intricately linked. Fossil fuels create environmental injustice, where the fossil fuels are extracted, whether it's oil towns or coal towns, where the locals have both their lungs and their mountains and water supplies destroyed, or if it's in our cities where folks can't afford to keep the heat and the lights on while out of state millionaires make record profits. But when folks own their own solar panels, it creates climate justice. It cleans up their entire community. It protects their communities, and it provides them the resources to, like electricity, heat that you can't study if you're cold. As a child, if you can't drink the water because there's lead poisoning, that's going to affect you for your entire life and impact your cognitive abilities. So all of these things are so closely tight knit. If we want to talk about climate justice, we have to get after the energy problem. And if we want to get after the energy problem, we can't do it without talking about climate justice. To me, they're one and the same problem.
Right.
That's why this is so important.
I'm so glad you lifted it up. They're like all these issues are interconnected. Even with environmental justice, like sometimes people like to separate all of them. Like we're all connected. All these movements are connected. Even building decarbonization, that's nothing more than energy and utility justice. What some projects are you working on that you are excited about that brings you joy, right? Because outside of doing board duties, going to work, what are some things that you're excited about with work?
Well, I like to keep busy. I just became the energy chair for Environmental Law Society at school, and I'm really excited to bring in some speakers and educate these law students who are going to have so much power and influence when they graduate. When you get the JD behind your name, you can change lives. And so I want to catch them while they're in law school and give them this bug that we have to get them involved with energy and environmental justice. So I'm really excited about that opportunity. So I just finished a blog post. Sorry, go ahead.
So is that what you're like the concentration? I don't know how it goes with law school. So that's the concentration that you're studying, energy, climate.
Yeah, definitely environmental. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the energy side or anything within the whole world of environmental law. You could focus on endangered species. You could focus on, policy and writing legislation that's going to, enhance energy codes or require solar panels and work like that. There's a lot of opportunities, and I'm excited to learn more. But yeah, as a part of a student organization, trying to help the student body learn more about these issues.
Okay.
I also just finished a blog that I'm really excited about that's going to discuss minimum parking regulations and whether the federal government can impact them. Minimum parking regulations really like nerdy topic, but the idea is that anytime a building is built, a lot of municipalities, cities require them to put in so many parking spaces, and this can contribute to urban sprawl and automobile dependency and make it harder to have public transportation. And so when we talk about all the issues in our communities with traffic and pollution from automobiles, it becomes a big issue. So I'm really excited about that. And then finally, having spent the entire school year in a library, I just started working on a communal garden, not a community garden, a communal garden. So anyone can come learn how to garden from the harvest. Even if they've never been there before, it's just there for the community. And I volunteered with it the last couple of years, but I'm really excited to get my hands dirty again and just start contributing to the community.
So I just thinking about Molly's interview. I like the fact that how even though you work and you're going to school in this field, it's like you're actually centered. You're living a life of an environmentalist. Like you're into nature. You're learning about how how food is actually a part of what we do, right? So I like the fact that you and her definitely lifting up that this is what you all are passionate about. So it's not just a career, it's not a profession, it's a passion, and it's also, it seems like it's personal, right? You're blogging about it. And so I really appreciate that. So we're about to log off. So I wanted to know what are some of your passions outside of saving the world, environment, climate justice? How do you spend your time? You said you do a lot, David. So what are the things that you do?
I like the outdoors, but I'm also a total library nerd at heart. So when I have free time, I'm either, going outside, running, walking, canoeing, gardening, or I'm inside with my nose in a book, going on a different adventure.
Okay. That's cool. So you're still part of the movement, environmentalism, you're in nature or like that. That's cool. So David, is there anything else you'd like to offer us? Anything about joining the board or anything about Midwest BDC before we hop off?
Yeah, I think for those who are interested in getting involved, it can be difficult to get a foothold into the community. If you're starting a new career or you're transitioning a career. But I think the bottom line is just show up, be nice, be a good person, be humble, work hard, and opportunities will present themselves. I didn't set out to be on this board,
Mhm.
um, but I was working with some of the staff, and they said, "Hey, we need another person from Illinois. Are you interested?" And I
Mhm.
think that was because I had shown up.
Yeah.
I'd contributed to the team, and there's always more work that needs to be done. This is urgent, right? This is urgent. Our community members are getting sick from environmental degradation, and climate change is coming fast and hard, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And when you show up and you're that good person, you're humble, you work hard, you're nice,
Mhm.
people are going to ask you to do more work because there's a ton of work. And that's the secret. You show up, and then people will find a way to get you involved. And I think that's the only secret.
I appreciate that. Show up, get to work, be humble, right? Because sometimes, when you're joining organizations, people, organizations, or even boards, you come to this work for a different reason, right? People come for, like, there's a need, like you said, there was a need, there was a call, and you showed up, or people come because they have been impacted by whatever issue, right? Or some people come because of notoriety. So there's a career resume booster. So people come to these different movements for different reasons. So I've learned just to meet people where they are. However, we still got to get to work. There's so much things that we have to do, right? So I appreciate you being here, being a part of the board. I'll see you in another Zoom meeting in a couple weeks or before. So thank you so much for your service to Midwest BDC, to society, America, and continue to work hard getting your JD. I know you will. So thank you so much, David, for being here.
Thank you so much, Marnese. This is so lovely, and it's always great to talk to you. Have a great time, and I'll see you in our next Zoom meeting.
Okay.